In this week's Heirs and Spares, it's been an unprecedented week for the royal family as the Princess of Wales announces she, like the King, has cancer.
And what's going on stateside? Harry and Meghan are believed to have made contact with the Prince and Princess of Wales, but was this the first they'd heard of the princess's diagnosis? Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on either side of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in California.
And I'm Katie Nicholl, and I'll have all the latest news from the Prince and Princess of Wales here in the UK. Well, Kinsey, I think it's been a pretty remarkable week, a very emotional week, and I hate the word unprecedented because I think it's so overused. But in this context, no other word will do. It has been unprecedented. And I'm not sure that either of us were expecting the announcement that came out of Kensington Palace late on Friday night, UK time. In fact, I had a camera crew here. We were filming a documentary, a forthcoming documentary about the 3 months that rocked the royal family. And Kinsey, I know you were filming the same documentary from LA earlier in the week. And as we were sort of wrapping, this bombshell dropped. And I have to admit, it just felt like a punch in the stomach. I'm not too ashamed to admit I really found it very, very emotional. And watching the Princess of Wales deliver that clearly heartfelt and very, very hard message for her to record and for us to hear was really a moment like no other. I've never heard Catherine speak with such honesty, with such a rawness and a depth, and that sounds condescending, but she's never spoken like this to us before. She's never addressed us like this, and it reminded me of some of the times that the Queen addressed the nation at times of need, in times of crisis, when it wasn't like your Queen speaking to you. It was like a family member. It was like someone you felt you really knew and someone you really loved. And I felt that way listening to Kate. And I know, Kinsey, you were really emotional about it too.
I was, yeah. And it's interesting the way that Americans have processed this entire thing over the last few months, because I did feel like there was a sense of mockery that was incredibly unfair, a disrespect. And even today, I did an interview with an American outlet and they said, well, the royal family put themselves out there so much, aren't we owed this type of information? And I argued, I said, what was Queen Elizabeth's favorite color? What was her favorite book? What was her favorite song? They didn't put themselves out there. We know very little about these individuals. They represent the monarchy, and what their job is to do is elevate these causes that are near and dear to them. And I don't think they're not celebrities. They don't, tell us frivolous things about themselves. They don't overshare. So I really don't think, there is a significant amount of Americans that don't follow the royal family closely and don't understand that these are real people. Some of them were born into this position, but there is just this element of, to me, it's always been, I don't know, kind of sacred. It's a step above celebrity. And so I had a hard time processing the way that I saw a lot of Americans treat the Princess of Wales leading up to this announcement, and hearing it and knowing all of the kind of just crudeness and rudeness that went into people like Stephen Colbert, I mean, who allegedly apologized today. I didn't really feel like it was that much of an apology. Or Kim Kardashian, who has yet to remove her post about Kate, On My Way to Find Kate. I just thought it was so cruel. And I definitely, I had a hard time processing it all, because to know now that she was dealing with all of this stuff behind the scenes, and like she reiterated over and over again, dealing with this with three small children, it just hurts your heart.
It does. It's painful to hear, and I think we ought to point out that Blake Lively was one of the celebrities who did take to Instagram to apologise, and I think that was the right thing to do. And I think we can only hope that this is a moment collectively, as nations around the world, where we might just people might just pause before they hastily bash out a message or jump on the bandwagon with some hashtag that's trending. And like you say, remember that these are people. And it's interesting, that sort of perception, isn't it, that they are public property. Well, firstly, the Americans don't pay a penny towards the British royal family. I think if anyone has a right to feel that they're public property, it's the British taxpayer, because we, the British taxpayer, fund them. But I think there is a sense of them being everyone's royal family. And that comes from a genuine and place of goodness. And I think we saw that pivot, we saw that change, and that sort of warmth that the royal family are used to having, whether it's at a celebration like a jubilee or the coronation or a royal wedding, where the world turns out to sort of cheer and support and wave their flags and get behind the royal family. That turned a different way and became a sort of obsessive curiosity. And I think we discussed this, didn't we, in the last episode, Kinsey, how the palace really lost control of the narrative. I've been asked a lot on air with the Today Show and other networks this week, was that video message, was it a response to all the trolling and the online conspiracy theories? And I'm told by the palace it wasn't. I mean, it actually had the effect of stamping them out for the most part, although some people were still convinced that she'd been put on that video using AI. I mean, some of the crazy rumors didn't stop, but for the most part, they have done. But actually, that's not the reason that the princess recorded that message. She had BBC Studios film it so that there couldn't be any sort of suggestion that there had been any sort of digital manipulation going on after that Mother's Day photo. She deliberately filmed it outside because she wanted evidence of spring behind her and, those daffodils symbolizing hope. So I think there was a lot of speculation as to whether she filmed that video message to stamp out all of the online rumors that were swirling at the time. But that's not why she did it. She did it because she wanted to communicate what she knew was going to be really powerful and shocking news, not just to Britain, but to the world, because it did go around the world, and it was greeted with messages from world leaders as well. But it was really important to her that she connected with people, and she just didn't feel that a written statement, which is the usual way for the royal family to do things, would have the same impact. And I think it was a really great call. And I'm told that she discussed it with William before. She discussed it with the king, because I guess she knew she was sort of going against the grain by doing this. This was a bit different. When you think back to the king's cancer diagnosis, that was done via a written statement. But I think it had a really important effect for Kate. Yes, it had the additional benefit of stamping out all of the conspiracy rumors, but it enabled her to connect with her people. And many of these people are her future subjects. And I think one of the reasons that we're all so fond of Kate is because she's always felt like one of us. She's always connected with us. She's resonated with us. And she was able to do that in that video message. And I think she looked more vulnerable and frail than any of us have ever seen her. And yes, it made her look very human. And I think this sort of double cancer diagnosis, within a month of the king's diagnosis, has shown just how fragile the monarchy is. But that, we may be talking about the king and the monarch, and we may be talking about the most famous woman in the world, the Princess of Wales, but we're talking about real people here.
Absolutely. And I just want to jump on your question that we're both being asked everywhere about, could this have been handled differently? I think the obvious answer is yes. But I also think we need to show some grace, because no one has figured out how to navigate the social media world yet. It's like the wild, wild west. People can say whatever they want, and there are typically no repercussions. I mean, we have here in the United States seen 2 presidential elections that in some way, shape, or form were manipulated by social media, whether it was the New York Post being flagged for reporting the Hunter Biden story as fake, which we inevitably found was to be legitimate. I mean, things like, we just can't control what happens on social media. No one has figured it out. So I would still argue that the palace is one of the, and they're currently hiring for a communications position, but I would argue that they are still part of the elites when it comes to the communications department. And this was just something that no one knew how to manage. And it would have really taken, an act of God to figure out how to manage kind of the chaos that was happening online. And as I'm sure you saw that, I believe it was at least I saw it reported in the Independent, Whitehall concerned that China, Russia, or Iran were deliberately fueling some of the disinformation about the Princess of Wales to destabilize the nation. We saw reports in Russia that the king had passed away when he had not. So this is a new monster that everybody is trying to deal with right now.
It absolutely is, and those conspiracy theories, like you say, have continued. But I think actually what this video message did, which was more powerful than any of those conspiracy theories, was show just how popular the royal family is. The wave of support from not just the British public, but around the world. This I think has blown the couple away. I mean, they released a statement over the weekend, which we weren't expecting, saying how touched they both were. And this is going to buoy Kate, having been on the receiving end of so much trolling at a time when she's coming to terms with a devastating diagnosis. This will now buoy her. This will now help her to, get through this treatment. She knows she's got people on her side. They're wishing her well. She's got a huge amount of support. And, we know from the King, who also released images of him looking at some of those cards from well-wishers and some of those messages of support, that this matters to the royal family, because it is, again, a connection with the people. But one can only imagine that privately behind the scenes, this has been an incredibly tough few weeks. And I think we mustn't forget William in all of this. We know that the family are together at the moment. They're at Anmer in Norfolk, where they can sort of hunker down. They won't be bothered. They won't be photographed. Hopefully they can go and enjoy some lovely beach walks and just be together as a family, which is what they need more than ever at the moment. But I can't help really feeling for the Prince of Wales. He's carrying so much on his shoulders at the moment, and the prospect of the crown falling to him must seem ever closer. Of course, he's been through so much tragedy already, losing his mother. He's lost his brother. They don't have a relationship anymore. And now he's facing his father having cancer, his wife having cancer. He's got 3 young children. The weight of the monarchy rests largely on his shoulders, and he's going to really have to step up whilst also looking after things at home. And I think he must be under enormous pressure at the moment.
I agree. It is devastating to think about all of that. And he's always handled it with such grace, even in the sweet comments he'd make while he was on, duties about how the Princess of Wales should be right there with him, or joking about how she's the creative one in the family. I mean, you can see just through those quick moments that she's always on his mind, which gives you a lot of comfort. Really quickly, this wasn't on the agenda, but you did mention the King. Walk me through what you think Easter might look like, because we did hear from the palace today that we should expect King Charles to appear at Easter with Queen Camilla. Do you believe that? I've heard it could be described as Easter light. Is that just because we won't likely see the Prince and Princess of Wales? Is that because he might not engage with people the way he usually does? What do you think Easter might look like with King Charles?
Well, I think it's going to look. I think it's going to look important, actually, because this is the King's first public outing since his diagnosis. He's going to have the Queen by his side. I would imagine we'll see the Edinburghs there, his sister, the Princess Royal, and other extended members of the family too. But we won't be seeing the Waleses. So in that respect, it will be scaled back. But I don't think anyone is expecting to see the Waleses. I think what's important is we're seeing the King, who today was meeting with faith leaders at Buckingham Palace, his first in-person engagement with a group of people, again, since his diagnosis. And I think that shows that the medical team behind his treatment must be feeling pretty confident that he's absolutely able to meet people. Like you say, possibly he's not going to be out meeting well-wishers. We'll have to wait and see on Easter Sunday whether he goes and does a bit of a meet and greet. Any treatment he's going through may be compromising his immune system. So I think we shouldn't be surprised if we don't see him do that. But whether he does or doesn't, I just think to be at the Easter service, it's such an important date in the royal calendar. It's really important to the King. It is a sign of things to come. And in fact, I'm hearing from my sources that he's even hoping to be at Royal Ascot, the royal calendar really heats up over the spring months. There's a lot going on. There's the Garter service, there's Royal Ascot, and quite a bit for him to attend. Now, he may not be able to do everything, but I certainly think we're going to see him at some of the engagements that he knows will be important for that image of the monarchy being out there, being seen. As the late Queen said, I have to be seen to be believed. And I think Charles, in that respect, is exactly the same. Kinsey, tell me about what you're hearing about the Sussexes, because it was reported over here that they had reached out to Princess Kate. We know that they sent her actually a really sweet message of support on X. Do you think this could be perhaps a path to a rapprochement, or do you think that's just not on the agenda at the moment?
Well, stateside, the Daily Beast is reporting that Prince Harry is just simply not on the Prince and Princess of Wales's radar. They say that they talked to sources close to Prince William, and that Prince Harry is expected to visit the UK in May, but the Prince and Princess of Wales are likely not to see him, citing that they just would like to avoid drama. But you're absolutely right. Once news of Catherine's cancer reached the United States, Prince Harry and Meghan wasted no time issuing a statement wishing health, healing, and privacy for Kate. I thought it was really interesting that they called her Kate, because typically in the United States, we're advised to call them the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. So maybe that was their way of stamping a personal touch to their message, so that maybe a more intimate touch to the message that they released. But they are believed to have made contact privately with the Prince and Princess of Wales on Friday night following the video. Page 6 reporting within moments of that video's release that Catherine's cancer was brand new news to Harry and Meghan, that they discovered it with the rest of the world, whether it was an alert on their phones or they were interrupting sporting events here in the United States to tell us that, which I thought was really interesting. We do expect for Harry to travel to the UK in May. I expect for him to at least try to see King Charles. I don't know if his schedule will allow it, but when it comes to a reconciliation between the brothers, I don't see that on the horizon. I do have a question for you, though, when it comes to that announcement from Harry and Meghan. I was surprised that they released it so soon. I wondered if they would allow the news cycle to focus on the Princess of Wales. I thought maybe within 24 hours, but it was within hours that they
I'm not
reacted.
so surprised by that, Kinsey, because I think they would have, they'd have come in for a hammering if they hadn't responded quickly. I mean, when you think about the fact that Harry was on the first plane over to the UK from LA when his father announced his cancer diagnosis, it doesn't surprise me. I think what does surprise me is perhaps now that we're hearing news that Meghan's going to be having some sort of cosmetics line on her new website, and perhaps this wasn't the week to announce that. But you tell me more about that.
Yeah, according to documents obtained by the Daily Mail, she's looking to add makeup mogul, Meghan Markle, makeup mogul. We should just go ahead and copyright it right now, Katie. I think there's time. But the trademark application features products like bath and shower salts, gels, soaps, body lotions, and oils, cosmetics, and fragrances. There's also like yoga mats and dog shampoo and conditioner. The global beauty industry is reported to be worth $532 billion, but it has completely become oversaturated with celebrity beauty brands. Elle magazine publishing an article last week titled "Meghan Markle's lifestyle brand is here, but did we really need another one?" In May of just 2023, an article from Huffington Post was called "The Beauty Industry Doesn't Need Any More Celebrity Skincare Brands." And there's over 50 celebrities and influencers that have launched beauty brands over the last few years. And, if you think about it, that's pretty tough competition. Gwyneth Paltrow's the name that we always talk about. Rihanna was super innovative when she launched Fenty Beauty. That had over 40 different foundation colors, which hadn't been seen before. Jennifer Lopez, Jessica Alba, Cindy Crawford, Hailey Bieber seems to be everywhere. So I don't have a problem with Harry and Meghan making money, but am I wrong in understanding that they were not supposed to use their titles for commercial pursuits like retail products?
Well, no, because I think the idea is that in leaving the royal family and not taking money from the privy purse to carry out engagements and have their security. They have to make money in order to survive. I think the deal was that they wouldn't compromise the reputation or the brand of the royal family. It would be in keeping with the brand. But when you consider that Peter Phillips is marketing milk in China, I'm not sure makeup looks so bad.
Katie, we do expect to see Prince Harry heading in your direction in May. This is the 10th anniversary, can you believe it, of Invictus. There's supposed to be an event at St. Paul's Cathedral. First of all, it was my understanding that Harry's intention was to bring the entire family over. The only thing that jeopardizes that is the issue of security. So I'm sure that they're working on that behind the scenes. But I'd like to know if you think that there could potentially be a meeting between the brothers, or will he even see King Charles when he's there in May to celebrate the Invictus Games?
Well, we've yet to know just the finer details of his trip or how long he's coming over for. I mean, I think it would be wonderful for him to bring his family because, Prince Harry has worked so hard with the Invictus Games. This is an international championship that he has founded for veteran, injured, and less abled sportsmen and women, and those suffering with all sorts of injuries, post-traumatic stress, to those that have lost limbs. It is a truly remarkable thing that he's done. And he's very proud of it, as he should be. He lives and breathes the Invictus Games, and that community is one that he loves, and that in turn loves him. And so I know he would want his family to be there. Now, whether or not they're able to sort the security out, let's hope they do, because of course we haven't seen the Sussexes, en famille here since Megxit. So it would be wonderful. Will he be seeing his brother? Well, there would have been a time when Prince William would have been at that service at St. Paul's. He was very proud of Harry and the Invictus Games. He supported Harry very publicly, as has the King. And I think it's very, very unlikely that we're going to see William there. I mean, when you consider just a few weeks ago at the Diana Awards, even with Harry being in another country and doing a video message, there was a big gap between William's appearance in person and Harry's video message. I just can't see them even in a place as big as St. Paul's Cathedral together. I don't think it'll happen. And I think that's sort of indicative of their relationship, of the estranged relationship. You pointed out, Kinsey, that Harry didn't get the heads up about Kate's cancer diagnosis. He learned, like the rest of the world, via television, and that must be pretty painful. He was always very close to Kate, and of course had a very close bond with his brother. But that bond has been tested. There's been an erosion of trust. I think a feeling that had William or one of his team even tipped Harry off and given him the heads up, possibly that news might have leaked out of the Sussexes camp. I think there are real concerns like that. But I do think it's very sad that for something as important as Invictus, which, when you think of Harry, him and Invictus are, they are one of the kind. They're glove in hand. They come together. I think it's a great shame if he doesn't have the support of some members of his family, and he can't count on that. So I'm sure he's doing everything he can to get the security plans in place so that he can have his wife at least, and hopefully his children there.
Does Prince Harry's Invictus Games brand struggle without the attachment to the royal family? Because there was something so fun about seeing everybody there cheering him on. And in the last few years, some of those people that initially were attached to Invictus Games, like First Lady Jill Biden, we haven't seen the Obamas support Prince Harry with the Invictus Games recently. It does seem like there was an amount of credibility that Harry's association with the royal family gave Invictus, and with them being, I don't want to use the word at war, but with them fighting the royal family, or with their not being the open communication and all lovey-dovey, do you feel like it's negatively affected Harry's ability to draw some of the talent and the A-listers that he has in the past?
That's a really good question, Kinsey. You would hope not, wouldn't you? Because particularly for something like Invictus, which is such an important thing, and Harry's always said the Invictus isn't about him; it's about the community. The community is so much bigger and more important than him. But I think you make a valid point in that suggestion that some people, some celebrities, some VIPs, like Obama, who was at Invictus once and wasn't seen there again, perhaps might stay away because that affiliation with the Sussexes could be deemed to then perhaps jeopardize a relationship an affiliation, a connection of some sort with the royal family, because there are clearly two rival camps here. So we'll have to wait and see who turns up. I mean, Harry does have the ability still to pull in a VIP crowd. He's got A-list friends of his own, as has Meghan. But whether or not they're able to draw in the VIP royals, well, we'll have to wait and see. That's all we've got time for this week. It has been a very moving week. It's been an emotional week. I'm sending you a big virtual hug. And I just want to, with all of our viewers, just wish the Princess of Wales a speedy recovery. I feel very positive about this. I think she's going to be absolutely fine. And that incredible inner strength that she has is going to shine a light on her and stand her in good stead. But we wish you well, Princess Kate. Take care.
All right, what do you guys think? Is the celebrity beauty industry oversaturated? Would you buy makeup by Meghan? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you all next week.